So let me invite my panel members today, starting with Dr. Subramanya Kusnur, founder, chairman and CEO of AquaKraft Group Ventures, Mr. Rajesh Tiwari, Director General and CEO of Indian Center for CSR, Dr. Aditi Mishal, Director Center for Sustainability and Professor at Atlas SkillTech University, Mr. Rohit Pandya, Manager-CSR, Mazagon Dock Shipbuilders Limited, and to moderate and steer this August panel, I would once again invite the father of CSR, Dr. Bhaskar Chatterjee, CEO, ANIL AGARWAL Foundation, Vedanta Group, for the same.
I have with me very, very distinguished panel. The topic is simple, straightforward, direct. How does CSR help in the development of our nation? Let me start by inviting my very dear friend and colleague of many years, Rajesh, who has seen CSR from many perspectives, has devoted time to the causes, many wonderful causes, and I know how much personally and in CSR he's invested towards developing our nation. So to you, Rajesh, to kick it off.
Thank you, Dada. Banglaয় বলি অজস্র ধন্যবাদ আমাকে তুমি ডেকেছো, and my esteemed panelists in the dais, thank you for allowing me to speak. We in Indian Center for CSR have long thought over it, and we know that this topic, which is the topic for today, is well known. During COVID time, you have seen how CSR has helped India reboot, regroup and rejuvenate. So I don't need to sort of detail because we hardly have more than 7 minutes to speak. With your permission, Dada, right? So I will quickly dovetail where we think as Indian Center for CSR, what is CSR? So CSR and their corporate social responsibility, couple of things. Our advisors in CSR are who's and who's of the world. So what intake we bring as a sort of input from educational perspective for corporates, I wish to speak. So first and foremost, I would like to remind a lot of people that CSR, though we talk about that philanthropy and charity existed in India for 10,000 years, very good, but CSR is not philanthropy and charity. It's a deep-rooted business strategy, and those who follow CSR as a business strategy in their core structure will benefit in the time to come as a corporate. And this is what we practice, assimilate and disseminate as a general information for people in India and abroad. We also sort of emphasize that CSR is not 2%, but 100%. And how? I can sort of explain to you in just 2 minutes. Typically, world over, CSR gets confined to 4 pillars because supply of money is not infinite. Corporates also have limited amount of money and they need to spend that money judiciously, rightly, and make money so that they continue the process of corporate social responsibility. So what are those 4 pillars? 4 pillars are workforce, which is employees, marketplace, which is our customers, environment in general, and society in particular. So if you have a budget of 100 rupees, I'm quickly dovetailing, for CSR, you need to spend that judiciously, as I said. So out of 100 rupees, if you are Hindustan lever of the world, then 40 rupees should go for marketplace because you exist because of your customers. 30 rupees should go to your employees because they work very hard. If you're a mining company, then you have to spend 40 rupees for environment, 30 rupees for employees because they spend a lot of time in those tired conditions. So this is how if you design, so every organization in India needs to sort of design their expenditure on these 4 pillars and make it a business strategy. It's a corporate program for sustainability. I come from Unilever, Hindustan Lever. So we interviewed the chairman, and he said, Rajesh, you're right. Time will come very soon, Hindustan Lever, and I'm sure other organizations will follow, that they are saying, we will not be talking about financial numbers. We would be talking about sustainability numbers. So look at the shift which world is focusing now. So that's why you have Dow Jones Sustainability indices, then FTSE for Good, and also BSE starting something on the green light. So all these indicators are giving you an idea where we are going and where we should plan our, activities. So again, on Indian Center for CSR, we assimilate and disseminate CSR knowledge and bring to the fore the best international practices. So in a short and precise way, I have just contributed what we do. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rajesh. So brilliantly setting the context for our discussions. Let me bring on board now the man who is popularly known as the waterman of India, Subramanya Kusnur, somebody who has completely energized, remodeled and re-scripted the way we use and look at water. Over to you, Subbu.
Thank you, Dr. Very momentous occasion for you. This where we are sitting in the participation. And this is a place from National Grid. And the erstwhile open outside school. Very this to happen there from building to building. Rightfully so, we people who are listed in a very relation, other people who contribute to and over the last 10 years, you see corporates who are encouraged like Dsouza, to the Mumbai software companies, to the SMX, and now BSC has social partnership as well. So that essentially is a display of the fact that the way Radha created the law, and he doesn't create the law, he actually uses both of them and fundamentally uses it. In our experience, CSR actually is, we actually built a balance sheet of it. When we started this business in 2010, and the last engagement was we had technologies at that time, which are now which were much ahead of time, and we also didn't have the requisite knowledge to evaluate this and implement it. Come to 2014, in the beginning of 2015, we got the first opportunity from none other than HCL to implement programs across the country, which were very successful, and that actually incubated our action, our growth, and our innovation. Most importantly, what CSR has done, it has gone beyond the actual public procurement mechanism and given a platform to innovators to innovate newer models, newer technologies, and newer perspectives. This, coupled with our Honorable Prime Minister's dream, which was the best transformation program, social transformation program in the world, first Swachh Bharat Abhiyan 1, then 2, then Make in India, Startup India, Stand Up India, where opportunity was given to new companies and new entrepreneurs to give wing to their innovations and take it from an idea to a commercialized stage. So that, I think, is the biggest takeaway today in CSR. And as we see in all sectors, and as Rajesh rightly said, COVID showed us how we could innovate. Not just earlier oxygen plants were only huge plants. COVID showed us how you could make mobile oxygen plants, how you can create mobile ICUs. We saw NICUs coming in. We saw local diagnostics coming in the healthcare sector. Logistics has taken CSR to another level altogether, where now we are seeing green logistics, green supply chain, which was hitherto unheard of. So one of the key things, and which answering to what Bhaskar said, is that number one, it has given a strong platform to innovators. Number two, it is creating a lot of not just social wealth but economic wealth, because every implementing agency is today looking at leveraging CSR. Unfortunately, CSR has still looked as donation and philanthropy. Tell me which country gives you $5 billion annually, year on year, at an annual growth rate of 20% for you to try, test and do social implementations and social development. That is a phenomenal takeaway. CSR today has gone from philanthropy to industry, and going forward will be the most integral part on the balance sheet. We are seeing ESG reporting coming in. Case in our point, we have created, while we did a lot of work around water across harvesting, treatment, delivery, distribution, last year we created a digital water bank, and today we are issuing water credits like carbon credits, and we have a whole bunch of organizations who are coming in. Our biggest partner in this is the Art of Living, which has done some phenomenal work in doing water conservation projects in 19,000 villages. This is actually 3% of the country. So there are a huge number of non-profits who are actually doing work. So we are trying to build a platform for all stakeholders to come together and create one common objective. And the Jal Jeevan mission, which has been a phenomenal mission by providing a functional tap to every household. So government policies, local innovation, and a huge contribution by corporate India together is the dream or the recipe for a $5 trillion economy, which our honorable Prime Minister has
Thank you, Subbu. Brilliantly put. He's a living example of how much CSR has provided opportunities for new technologies and innovation. Absolutely. Rohit, I just wanted to bring you in because as a former Secretary for the Department of Public Enterprises, had so much to do with implementing the CSR guidelines, which were the first of its kind in the world and which applied only to the public sector. And it is the guidelines which were released on the 1st of April 2010, and you can see that precedes it by 4 years, the legislation of the nation. So we literally began by saying that charity begins at home. We began with CSR in our own public sector. So Rohit, over to you.
So, very rightly said by Dr. Chatterjee, CSR was started by CPSEs in the year 2010. And I remember Dr. Chatterjee, probably in the same conference hall in 2017, told that he is not worried about how CSR is being operated in CPSEs, because there are very few companies, they are highly regulated by government, and they have started early, 4 years early. So I remember these words. Sir, although CPSEs are, if we talk about PSUs and central PSUs, they form around 450 to 500 companies in India. So which is a very smaller chunk when we talk about the total companies which are qualifying for CSR. But when it comes to contribution towards CSR expenditure, it is a significant portion. Around 18% of CSR expenditure is being contributed by CPSEs. And sir, as we know that CSR is still evolving legislation, we will be completing 10 years in this coming April. So CSR at CPSEs are also now getting matured and graduated. Talking about CSR initiatives of Mazagon Dock, sir, I would like to highlight on 2 initiatives that we have taken. We sincerely believe that as a central PSU working under the Ministry of Defence, and there is a provision under Schedule 7 of Companies Act, we are partnering with leading IITs to create a defense ecosystem on generic topics which can be used in the marine technologies or defense ecosystem. So that is one way through which I believe we can contribute toward nation building, as India's contribution on R&D is below 1%. And if we aspire to become a advanced economy by 2047, I believe this R&D percentage as a percentage of GDP should be more, should be brought to up to the level of 5%. So with this thinking, we are partnering with IITs and doing some R&D project on the defense ecosystem. So this is one initiative, sir. Apart from this, I believe that with the evolving of CSR legislation, in the initial years, we felt the need of a scientific document to show the areas where real CSR contribution is required. For example, when I was in government of Gujarat, sir, we used to refer a Kolgi committee report, which is a ranking of backward talukas of Gujarat. So, such type of information was missing during the initial years, but with coming of this aspirational district program, now we are having the list of aspirational districts, where the human development index is below than the country's average. So this is an important milestone that this information has come into the CSR, and I'm glad that not only CPACs, even the private sectors are now focusing on aspirational district. So this is one aspect, sir. And talking about nation building, CPACs have been taking programs which are in line with national priorities. For example, talking about MDL CSR initiatives in aspirational district, we are focusing in Nandurbar district of Maharashtra. We know our limitations. We are not a big budget company. So we decided to focus on one district rather than spreading thinly. And talking about our working in the aspirational district, we started in the year 2018-19. And we started with national priorities like Swachh Bharat was the national priority that time. Then we supported the district administration in COVID management. Then we increased the healthcare infrastructure. And now we are working on the national TB elimination and sickle cell elimination. So that's how CPECs like MDL have been contributing towards national building, and they are keeping their CSR in line with national priorities. So that's a submission from my end.
Thank you very much. Brilliantly put. Aditi, I'll turn to you next. Ideation and really practicing CSR. You're a wonderful mixture of both. Over to you.
Thank you so much, sir. And there are a lot of sempinch happening here since the morning. Sempinch in terms of how this hall matters a lot, where I've heard my mentor and spiritual father talking about the activities he has been doing, and we getting an opportunity to speak over the same place matters a lot. The sempinch in terms of the sari that I'm wearing, of course, and the sari, you know how beautifully the weavers must have woven this sari. Life is equally a great weaver, and it brings, interestingly, very intricately those important fabrics together. And that one of the fabric which has influenced me a lot is you, sir. And I'll just share that whole story.
Thank you, Aditi. Thank you.
So, this is the time that I got the Midas touch of MIT, which Pratyush Pandya was mentioning a while back. I organized Kumbhathon, a sandbox event in Nashik with Symbiosis Institute of Operations Management. And this particular event transformed me completely. There were 10 projects which were being discussed towards the change that we want to bring in and a green Kumbh Mela. And one of the projects which was proposed by this team of 6 students of mine, it was towards implementation of mobile biodigested toilets for taking care of the human bio-waste management in Kumbh Mela. And we said, we have to move further in spite of all of the odds. Can you see these happy faces of, the young leaders, change makers, while they are filling water in a water tank at a toilet? They are MBAs, and they got into great jobs post this. Someone is in Deloitte, someone is in EY, someone is in all of these great organizations in leadership positions, but everyone still carries that great transformational experience in their heart. So you see the students spraying the room freshener in typically this toilet. So you see people getting benefited with this kind of facility which we brought in there. We were rated the highest with the kind of sanitation level, hygiene standard that we maintained in this place. And let me tell you, sir, these students monitored personally the standard which was maintained at the time. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how big job we do. It matters how sincerely each step we take towards the good work that we are doing. This particular project left me and these students changed. And then I started my journey further. There was a lot of, recognition which came to the students too. Post that, this was covered under the program Zindagi Hai Ek Safar, by Amitabh Bachchan himself. So with this, the journey continued, and what you said, sir, that there is a triangle in terms of CSR with government, corporate, and of course the NGOs. But I would like to bring you one more point here, that is academia. In this collaborative social context, I would like to say that academia is actually the lubricant which will keep all of these stakeholders together and seamlessly take this task further, because we bring in not only manpower but the thoughtful manpower, the leaders of tomorrow. So I did some research. So whatever I actually implemented on ground, I brought back into research. And when I looked at the model, I realized what changes came in these students could be seen in this particular framework. Their civic sense improved, their self-efficacy has improved, their competency in terms of business and social skills which are required has improved a lot. And I'm continuing that journey. Got an opportunity to work closely with United Nations Environment Program in their Plastic Tide Turner Challenge, where we got 43,000 plus high school kids to actually take part in the plastic waste management. And this was action learning project. Post this, we also got the recognition as the Faith for Earth counselors at Govardhan Eco Village. And with them, we implemented a unique project. Here, we reached out to the youngsters with International Value Education Olympiad program, where the values have to guide their actions. So we implemented a program where they imbibed the values and actually also acted upon, based upon those values in this particular program. So we got almost 3 lakh plus students participate into this. And the journey still continues with a Y20 program at Atlas SkillTech University and 30 plus projects. So these are the breathing buildings which our students are designing, sir. So,
Fantastic.
Thank you. And you started this particular.
Thank you, Aditi. Thank you so much. I mean, how nicely, how imaginatively you have presented. Hats off to you. Really. Super, incredible. So, Bertram, you would have the value of so many other speakers before you, and what would you like to add to this discussion?
Thank you, Dr. Bhaskar. I think it's a pleasure to be here on this panel with all of you. I come from a very different perspective, but very closely working with your industry. So Protean, if I were to just give a quick introduction, is a company which has been around for close to 3 decades now. It was earlier known as NSDL e-governance infrastructure. Recently, we've changed our brand name to Protean. And I'll talk about our journey in 2 parts, the past and the future. What we've done in the last 3 decades in tranches is we started, of course, setting up the first capital market reform in the country with the depository interventions, I think pretty much everyone in this room today, we would have touched your lives in some way if you have a PAN card or if you have a pension account. What we do now is in the last 10 years, we've been focusing on how we build platforms that create social and economic impact. And one of the big areas of our contribution to CSR was a platform called Vidya Sarthi. And we partner with hundreds of CSR companies in this space to enable affordable and easy to discover scholarships for students, and especially from the students which are more from the deserving communities. So it's very hard today for discovery of CSR and funding to happen at the point of need for some of these individuals. And we've seen a huge volume over the last few years of demand on a platform. But it is extremely hard to ensure that the demand is also met adequately with supply. So this is some of our past journeys, and where we realized the future of India and digital commerce, and the theme of today's panel, Building for Bharat for the Future, is where we realized the government had a vision of digital India. They also wanted to look at digitization of multiple sectors across the country. And I really enjoyed the presentation Mr. Deshpande gave earlier today. He spoke about how in each sector, from agriculture to healthcare to education to skilling, how there are a lot of interventions which are needed. And we're pretty much at the heart of all of that now. So the future of Protean and where we are focusing is building a lot of new technology for each of these sectors. We are working closely with ONDC to power their technology for commerce. We are working closely with Nandan and his foundation, AquaKraft, to power a network called Open Network for Education and Skill. And under some of these open networks, we believe that access, both from a demand and supply side, will become much more democratized. So a student who is actually looking for an education loan, or a farmer who's looking for access to an agri loan, all of these use cases can get much easier enabled if that underlying infrastructure is in place. Like how UPI is ubiquitous today. So that's where we would love to work with a number of more CSR organizations who have the vision to really take it out there. And one of the other areas which I'd like to touch upon is, we found that a lot of CSR companies and organizations today have a challenge to disburse funds across multiple sectors, where they're working across multiple areas. And we realized the need for compliance at an infrastructure level is also required. So that's something which we've been actively building, and very happy to work with all of you offline. Thank you.
Thank you, Bertram. Thank you so much. Luckily, I think we've managed our time reasonably well. A quick 3 to 5 minute Q&A session. Would that be all right?
Yes, sir.
All right.
So who would like to ask the first question?
My name is Divij Shah, based here in Bombay. So my question is to Mr. Dr. Chatterjee. So as I run my bootstrap startup known as Menstrual Hygiene, so just wanted to understand from you, being a father of CSR, okay, so what are your thoughts for the next 5 to 10 years on the sustainability on women menstrual, where CSR companies are contributing equally? But if you want to do into a bigger scale, how we can go ahead with that? What are your thoughts on that?
I think the answer lies in the industrial presentation which was made by the Fuel Group. All beginnings are small, but if your work is truly sincere, begin with your first client. They invest in you not just in terms of money, but emotionally and personally as well. And then something that speaker said in the morning, word of it really spreads. Other people get to know that here's an organization that is really doing well. It's often said that we find it very difficult to access corporates. Corporates have their own common access. They help only a few NGOs, which is true to some extent. But corporates are also today looking at the kind of startups, kind of new innovations and technologies, new social enterprises, which have something promising and different to offer. And you fall in that category. So I would say, and Bertram was exactly mentioning this, that these are the opportunities for which corporates are keeping their eyes open. I'm sure you will attract them, and you will have a great field day in CSR.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. And who will ask the last question in the interest of time?
Good afternoon, everyone. My question to Rohit Pandya. Sir, you were talking about you're working with Nandurbar district, and you have touched one point called skill disease and all. So, how are you helping the community over there? And what is the algorithm that you have used to help the community engagement and all?
So you want to know about sickle cell program, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So you see, there is a huge backlog in the district in terms of screening of the target population. So district administration Nandurbar has taken an ambitious initiative to screen all the target population in the district, which is between 0 to 40 years. And we are helping the district administration in terms of screening the population and thereafter linking them with the benefits that are available under the National Elimination Program. Thank you. Thank you.
So thank you very much to my eminent panelists, and I hope we've kept within the time.
Thank you so much for honoring my request, Dr. Bhaskar, but I'm not going to let the panel go just like that. I would like to invite my mentor and the chairman of InnoServe Group, Mr. Gopal Krishnan Ramachandran, to give away the mementos for the esteemed panel. May we have the mementos, please?